Hi, I'm Brian, and welcome to part 2 of my review of the Carbon GTR, brand new from Evolve Skateboards, with all-terrain setup. So what are we going to be doing today? Well, I thought about doing a range test, but there have been a few of those done already and people are getting mad distances doing it. Instead, I thought I'd focus on something that related to my real-world riding and how I'm going to be using the board. So I'm going to do two things. One is, I want to give this thing a bit of a hill test to see how the battery performs under load. And what better way to do that than to use one of our extinct volcanoes here in Auckland, New Zealand. That's Mount Maungarai. I'm going to be going up and down that a couple of times to show you how the board goes. The second part of my test is to focus on the acceleration and braking. Everybody's interested in how these things take off and how they stop. So let's do a little bit of that as well. If you're interested in that, stay tuned. Okay, here we are at Maungarai, or as it's otherwise known, Mount Wellington. You can see the road heading up the hill behind me. It goes for about 550 metres or half a kilometre. The gradient is an average of about 16% the whole way. Now, that's not the steepest these boards will climb, but for me, it's a good real-world example of the kind of hills I'm climbing, and so it's a good test. My plan is to jump on the board in GTR mode and full throttle it to the top, remembering that I'm about an 85 kilo rider. I'll show you the percentage along the way so you can see exactly how the board performs under load, and then we'll check it at the top. Once I'm at the top, next plan is to head down the other side about 660 metres, and at the very beginning there's a good steep incline of about 20% that really tests the board in terms of its brakes and how they handle that. Okay, let's give it a go. 100% charged, GTR mode. Let's take this puppy to the top. Okay, filming the screen while riding, a whole lot harder than I thought it was going to be. But hopefully you'll see from the video that we started at 100%, GTR mode, full throttle the whole way, and we finished on 93. No sag and no discernible change in the performance of the board on the way up. That is frickin' cool. Okay, from here, we're going to head down the other side. There's about a 20% incline, and we'll see how the braking goes. Okay, a relatively speedy descent of the hill with plenty of brake use along the way. It's really hard to show in the video, but essentially the brakes are smooth. You can feel the difference when you engage them. There's not that grab that there used to be. They come in nice and smoothly no matter what speed you're doing. I feel really confident using them, and I think they've made a huge difference to the way the board performs. Let's go back up again. Righto, hill test over, and I thought I'd change location and scenery to give you guys something else to look at. So how did we go? Well, I was going to record each of my trips up and down the hill and then play them back to you, but I figured you'd get bored and tune out. So here's a summary. Essentially, I climbed to the top of the hill 6 times. That's 3 times from each side and then back down again, obviously. The board performed consistently throughout, with no degradation in performance or battery sag of any kind. And remember, I was riding full throttle in GTR mode from the bottom to the top. When I finished the test, the board battery was at 65%, and for me, for those riding positions, that's an impressive outcome. While I was doing the hill test, it occurred to me that I really needed to talk about the new R2 Bluetooth remote as part of this review, so here goes. The first thing is the Bluetooth communication. It results in much more rapid and immediate response from the acceleration and braking that is just super smooth. You can really feel the difference when you're riding the board in terms of how the board is controlled. I really like it. The second thing is that when you turn the board on and then tap the power button on the Bluetooth remote, it connects almost instantly, which means for super fast startup and get going each time. And of course, you can tell that it's Bluetooth on the side of the remote by the little logo, which helps you differentiate it from the old GT series remotes. For those of you that like to customize your ride, you can get the remote in 4 different colors. There's orange, obviously, my favorite, blue, green, and black. The remote itself still has 4 modes, but the 4th mode is now custom mode, which allows you to adjust the ride to your style. Along with the more obvious stuff, there's a couple of other things I'd like to mention. First up is that if you ever set the speed limit on your remote, the unit of measure on the display will change yellow. It's a quick, easy way of seeing that you've got the speed limit set. The next thing is the power save feature. With your remote in the upright position and the power save feature turned on, your display will be turned on. If you tilt the remote forward like you do when you're holding it when you're riding, the display turns off. The result is if you're like me and you hardly ever look at your remote when you're riding, it keeps your remote going for ages. I hardly ever have to recharge this thing. It's a really cool little feature. Lastly, I'm going to mention the trigger reset. For those that have used the R2, you'll know that if you ever bash or drop this really hard, you probably need to reset your trigger values. The way to do it is in the manual, and there's also videos online. I highly recommend making yourself familiar with that. It's almost always the go-to option for fixing things. And that's me, the end of my review. Part 1 and Part 2. If you saw Part 1, you know it was published a little while ago, and there's been a gap in between. Hey, I've been busy, and I've been riding my GTR. So at this point, what can I leave you with? Well, over and above all the features and the specs and all that kind of stuff, the one thing that I'd say to you is that the GTR is an absolute pleasure to ride. When you head out the front door on your board, you don't think about how far you're going to go or whether the battery's going to last or whether you're going to make it up any of the hills. You just go. You can feel the difference, and that is how riding should be. So that's me. Hopefully I'll do a few more of these, and hopefully you'll tune in. Thanks for watching.